As we light our chalice this morning here in our beloved sanctuary, you are also welcome to light a chalice at home if you'd like. As we prepare to say our words of affirmation together, please make sure you're muted on Zoom. Shannon will post the words in the chat, and as Tim lights the chalice, we invite you to speak aloud as we remember our congregational covenant. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom. For these high purposes do we unite in worship.
The reading from Rebecca Parker urges us to use our many gifts to bless the world. Themselves as blessings. We say that we're blessed with good health. Talking about these things, one that's embedded in our culture, so I think it's worthwhile to unpack that just a little. In traditional religious language, to bless something is to sanctify, to make it holy, sacred. There's some debate about the origins of the word, but most sources trace it back to Old English. And the act of consecration by anointing an altar with the blood of a sacrificial animal. And of course, that was back when your domestic animals meant survival, and to give one up was pretty significant. But to be blessed in common usage now is to have been granted happiness or health or prosperity, or to have been endowed with some talent or aspect, such as intelligence, a photographic memory, or some physical ability, for example. But who or what does that granting or endowing? Many would say it's the act of some divine power, and that they are favored by their deities. We understand that to be pretty dangerous theological ground, because the flip side of that is that those who don't enjoy such blessings are not favored by those deities. So where do our blessings come from? Divine favor. Good genes, your socioeconomic status, hard work. The threads of our fortunes are tangled together, and it's hard to tease them apart. And as we know, many blessings are mixed blessings. But whatever their source, I think we personally have a lot less to do with it than we'd like to imagine. Mostly, we're just lucky or unlucky. And that understanding goes a long way towards keeping perspective on our lives and our fortunes. It keeps us humble, or it should. But wherever our blessings come from, however they show up in our lives, it's important that we bless the world in return. Whatever the depth and breadth of our blessings, be they many or few. Seems like obvious questions to ask, but why and how should we do that? Dr. Parker gives us some answers, but perhaps there's something more foundational even. We Unitarian Universalists have been described as being a heady bunch, which has always seemed pretty accurate to me. Heady, of course, is a euphemism for being left-brained. Our heritage favors the rational side of things. We like to have reasons, perhaps sometimes too well thought out reasons for the things that we do. So when we talk about blessing the world, we tend to think in prescriptive terms. Feed the hungry. Be kind. Give to charity. Pay it forward. Advocate for legislation we favor. Change the words we use. And if we could all just do all those good things, the world would indeed be a better place. The intention is good. The record is mixed so far. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't do those things, but maybe We also need to be working on our hips to fix the pain in our necks, so to speak. I'll get there in a minute. Trying to change complex systems with linear thinking can be extremely frustrating. The failure rate is pretty high. A straight line doesn't always get us where we want to go. So in that spirit, I'd like to take a little detour into this left brain, right brain thing. Now, back in 2009, Ian Gilchrist published a book called The Master and His Emissary, The Divided Brain and the Making of the Western World. In it, he contends that this popular notion of the brain hemispheres as respectively logical and creative in nature is superficial and wrong. And that the correct view is that they pay attention to the world in fundamentally different ways. The left brain being more detail-oriented, the right being whole-oriented. In broad terms, you could say it's the job of the right hemisphere to envision what is going on holistically, while the left one provides precision on particular issues. It's the right that is responsible for surveying the whole scene and directing all the data coming in. So it's more directly in touch with the world as a whole. The right usually knows what the left is doing, but the left may not even be aware of anything outside its narrow focus. It has blinders on, which allow for that precision, can be very useful. Now, the hemispheres have a partnership that evolved over millennia. But like much of evolution, it's a bit of a hack, and one that can go wrong when one partner becomes too dominant. And this is his larger claim, that the emphasis on left brain, categorical, detail-oriented thinking has come at the expense of the bigger picture. And it's now reached a point where it's seriously distorting our lives and our thinking and our societies. So you may be asking right now, what has that got to do with blessing the world? Some of you may remember the story of Jill Bolte Taylor. She was the neuroscientist, or is the neuroscientist, who was able to observe and remember the experience of being at the gym and having a cerebral hemorrhage that shut down the left hemisphere of her brain. Lovely TED talk about that. She watched herself lose the ability to speak and to move and understand. And that was terrifying, right? But here's what she has to say about it. It was as though my consciousness had shifted away from my normal perception of reality, where I'm the person on the exercise machine having the experience, to some esoteric space where I'm witnessing myself having this experience. I looked down at my arm and I realized I can no longer define the boundaries of my body. I can't define where I begin and where I end, because the atoms and molecules of my arm blended with the atoms and molecules of the wall, and all I could detect was this energy. Energy. And I'm asking myself, what's wrong with me? What's going on? And at first I was shocked to find myself inside of a silent mind. But then I was immediately captivated by the magnificence of the energy around me. And because I could no longer identify the boundaries of my body, I felt enormous and expansive. I felt at one with all the energy that was, and it was beautiful there. End quote. So as her left hemisphere ceases to function, she's able to fully access the right brain's experience of the world, that sense of unity and belonging that seems to elude us so much of the time. She goes on to say that religion is a story that the left brain tells the right brain. But if that relationship is out of balance, as in the Gilchrist claims, then our work is to restore the balance and have the right brain tell the bigger story, the one that keeps the work of the left in perspective. Now, short of having a stroke, we human beings have millennia of experience in getting the left hemisphere to shut the frack up and listen. Some forms of meditation, for instance, mantras, mind-altering drugs, fasting, prayer, ritual, and worship, and blessing the world in this original sense of sanctifying, of making holy. So I'm going to invite us all to give that a try. I invite you to simply bless everything that you see or hear or taste or touch, and all that's unseen as well. Don't judge. Just bless and keep on blessing every chance you get. Bless whatever you consider beautiful or ugly or good or bad. Bless your enemies and your friends and every stranger. Bless the sun and moon and stars. Bless the trash and the trees. Bless it all. Make it all holy. If you can, raise your hand in benediction and speak your blessings aloud. Now, I realize that may be somewhat embarrassing in public, but just raise an imaginary hand. Silently speak your blessings. And it's going to feel weird at first, but stick with it on a daily basis. And you're going to be busy because there's a big, wide world to bless. When we start to bless the world in this way and everything in it, it's all joined by the blessings. We begin to experience the world as a unity and ourselves as just a part of it, continually blessing and being blessed. Divisions begin to dissolve. We move into communion with the world. This changes the brain and our relationships to each other and the world. Jill Bolte Taylor noted that there was both freedom and challenge for me in recognizing that our perception of the external world and our relationship to it is a product of our neurological circuitry. And what we want to do is nudge those circuits in the right direction. No politics intended. To sanctify the world by blessing it. Oh, that can't work, says the left hemisphere. Got to figure it out. Need to slice the world into smaller and smaller pieces, seeking ever more precision. Got to fix things. Got to come up with a plan and execute it. I have all this analysis and rules to follow. That's the way to change the world, says the left brain. But I think that without communion, those plans only go so far, don't they? And communion is something that the left brain just isn't capable of. Religion has to be a story that the right brain tells the left, or we lose our way. That brings me to a couple of concluding thoughts. As a spiritual and religious matter, if we don't bless the world, who will? It seems like everyone wants to change the world to fit their ideas about it. But very few want to simply bless it, sanctify it, make it holy without judgment. And as a practical matter, we need to seek communion before action. Communion grounds our actions in something larger than ourselves by linking everyone and everything involved. I'll have more to say about communion next month. It's another whole sermon. But in the meantime, let's start blessing the world in that original sense and keep on blessing it every day, in every way. May it be so.